In today's education news, the Schools Teachers Review Body recommends teacher pay rise closer to 4%. The Times reported last night that the recommendation for teachers is higher than the 2.8% ministers said was appropriate for next year. I'm sure for every teacher will be welcome news. However, this is the sticking point. This is what I'm really worried about. Schools' costs will outstrip their funding by 800 million this year if improved pay rises for teachers and support staff are approved without extra funding, analysis shows. I did make a video the other day talking about support staff pay rise of 3.2%. When it was suggested it would be a 2.8% increase, schools were already going to have to fund some of these through efficiencies, basically using their existing school budgets, which if you speak to any school will say it's already not enough before we consider any sort of pay increase. The government confirmed today that there will be no additional funding to pay if recommended awards exceeded what the departments can afford. Now, when the unions are talking about potential strikes if a 2.8% increase isn't fully funded, where do you think we're going to be if that is closer to 4%? So Luke here from the Institute for Fiscal Studies said if these pay offers are accepted, so the government can accept what the STRB has proposed, they estimate that mainstream school costs will go up by nearly 6% in 25-26. For comparison, mainstream schools funding is due to go up by 4.3% this year, or about 800 million less than costs. So in its evidence to the Pay Review Board, the government have assumed, and you should never assume because it makes an ass of you and me, that schools could make efficiency savings of just over 500 million to fund the pay. I don't know where they're getting that from because I can't see schools already on such a tight budget. What that's going to lead to is potentially staff being made redundant, losing support staff, which no school wants. But even if we were to make that, there's still a gap of 300 million that would need to be bridged from somewhere. Now, Labour have said that they've increased school funding by over 3.2 billion, and as a result, there is a forecast of 400 million of headroom in schools' budgets nationally. Labour has been able to increase school funding by over 3.2 billion, which means there's a forecast of 400 million of headroom in schools' budgets nationally. But these looming unfunded pay rises, added to the shortfall in funding for the budget's national insurance contributions rise, have led to widespread warnings schools have had to cut provision. This is what worries me so much, is that already when I'm traveling, when I'm visiting schools are already struggling to make ends meet in the current situation. This is before these pay increases for teachers and support staff come in. And my worry is if it's not fully funded, it is just going to lead to more pressure on teachers, on staff, on schools, which won't help with the retention of staff. Will mean that, again, children are getting a worse deal in terms of their education. So I'm hoping that it doesn't lead to any more strikes or anything like that, because Labour, hopefully the government will be able to find some money somewhere to fund it, because otherwise it worries me. It really, really does.